This being episode 1, Jay has some things that he wants to say about.
So I was sitting there watching The Big Bang Theory, which I love. I appreciate it. It's pretty much the only thing that makes me laugh anymore. But I started remembering the Galecki dude. What's his name? Leonard from the show.
Right.
I remembered him from Roseanne, and I was thinking, how old is this kid? So quickly I grabbed my phone, which is sitting next to me, and IMDb'd him, and come to find out he's my age, which was a little disappointing because I kind of thought he was a little younger, but apparently Roseanne was later. I don't know, I just remember from when I was 9, not 19.
I know he's about our age. Parsons a little bit older, but yeah.
Right. He is our age. He's 39. Ooh, by the way, I'm 39. Oh, you all suck.
Yeah, I just turned 39 a couple weeks ago.
So anyway, I go from there, and I was like, well, how old are all these guys? And they're all, between 37, except for, of course, the girl, which is like 10 years younger than all of the guys. It's
of course.
Kind of weird. I could see why they're all lusting after her.
It's not creepy at all.
No, not at all. It's a middle-age, what's that called? Middle-age crisis or
midlife crisis. You're going to hit one here in a couple of years, so be sure you get it right.
Years. I'm pretty sure I'm there now. Anyway, I IMDb'd Galecki, and then I started IMDb'ing all the other actors. I came to find out that Jim Parsons is 42 years old.
Right.
I think I did the math on that correctly. Sorry, Jim, if you're listening.
I'm sure you're not. We could only be so lucky.
But I found out some interesting things about Jim and the whole cast and crew, where, I tend to believe the three of them, and not so much Galecki, they are truly nerds. Like, that is their lives. And I know it's all make-believe in TV, but somehow you just look at them and you just kind of hope that they are into Dungeons and Dragons and video games and all that stuff. But it was a little disappointing that they are classically trained actors, with the exception of the Galecki kid. All the rest of them are like Juilliard and went to this school and whatever, which I guess, back in...
Galecki got into more the cute kid thing.
Yeah.
Christmas Vacation and stuff like that.
Right. The other ones like studied in Broadway and whatever, theater companies that they're all with. So I started thinking about that. And then somehow that was kind of disappointing. Like, that they're really not nerds. I mean, I guess drama nerds. Drama geeks,
whatever. Method, is that it? It's what bothered you about it? Why did it bother you?
Hang on. Let me finish the story. So I really started thinking about this and how old they were. First off, Jim Parsons, when I noticed it, I think they're supposed to be like in their early 30s, late 20s, their characters or whatever, but obviously not true, because once I noticed it, I noticed all the makeup around the neckline of Jim Parsons.
High def is a bitch for actors.
Yeah, and which was really interesting because I actually watched the Dan Patrick Show with him on it, and he doesn't need the makeup. He actually looks that young.
Well,
without it.
On Who Do You Think You Are? Same thing.
Yeah,
I saw that.
But they do the makeup for the lighting and stuff and the glares and whatever. So good on you, Jim, for looking like you're 29, even though you're 42. It's awesome. I really started thinking that these guys don't just represent nerds. These guys represent our generation.
Okay.
Because our generation is full of wanting to hang on to the memorabilia of the 80s and our childhood and everything else. And if you look around the culture...
Look around my room.
Look around your room. But theater. I mean, not just your room, but there's other people. We make Smurf movies. Smurf movies, we really need a live-action movie about Smurfs.
I know, that's just horrible.
I've never seen it, but I mean, Transformers and everything else. Our generation is just holding on to all of our old toys and characters that we used to love.
And marketing and executives are taking advantage of that, because we're in our late 30s to early 40s. We're in the height of our careers.
Right.
We have money to spend.
Right.
Let's pander to nostalgia.
So I started looking at our generation versus my brother's generation. My brother is 5 years older than me. This came to the conclusion that our generation is represented by the movie Revenge of the Nerds.
Yes.
Where we are the nerds and my brother are the jocks. Because I can
really?
all my brother's friends are all ogre. Ted McGinnis, which plays the good-looking one, the quarterback. You could see him.
Children.
Yeah, married to children. It's really the people in 5 years older than us aren't into the same, they don't hold on to that, nostalgia like we do. I mean, at all. And it's weird that I put Revenge of the Nerds because they beat our asses. And I'm going to have to say that because my brother's 5 years older and he beat my ass all the time.
Having known your brother, that kind of makes me laugh, actually.
Well, yeah, but he was the only one allowed to. His friends tried and he beat them. But it really just putting in context, Revenge of the Nerds, Big Bang Theory, somehow our generation is nothing but nerds or dorks or geeks or whatever compared to the generation who, we can fix everything, but they're not really into the whole what we are. Like, it started with video games. Video games were more my generation, which my brother's 5 years older than I am.
Yeah, I think my stepmom had Pong, and that was it. She was like 15 years older than me.
Yeah, so it goes back to, Big Bang Theory. Revenge of the Nerds, video games. Just 5 years older. My brother and his generation just wasn't.
There was a big difference there. You're right.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird.
Okay. I can see that to a point. Plus, it's also a matter of the folks in our age group. I would say age group more than generation, because your brother's the same generation we are. You're just a full high school ahead of us, basically.
Well, and that goes into, so you have all these Generation X and Generation Y and all this other stuff, and the millennial. And I've never figured it out, because if you look at like whatever years, my brother's Generation X, but I'm nothing. Like I'm not.
We're the limbo between the two.
We are, and
we're not really Y. We're kind of the MTV generation, in a way.
Yeah, kind of.
Because we were around when it first came
back
on.
when MTV played music.
I know this is shocking for some of you to hear, although anybody listening to us is probably going to be our age anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, MTV at once played music instead of a nasty, weird reality TV. Yes. I don't quite get that. Although they did start it, though, with
The Real World. Which I really liked the first season, but the second season with Puck, that turned me off.
Are you a drug dealer?
Yeah,
I loved that show. In fact, I watched it kind of recently. It was still pretty good. It's short, too. It's only like, a dozen episodes or something, because they were only in there for like 2 months or something like that.
Yeah, I just can't do it.
But that was the downfall of TV for certain, was the beginning. The MTV started it with that.
With The Real World.
With The Real World. And then, of course, they threw Road Rules in, and then everything went to hell after that. By the way, for anybody, since I wasn't allowed to give any kind of introduction, we are drinking. We start drinking when we start recording, and then we see what happens after that. We have a couple loose subjects that we're going to talk about. Other than that, we're just going to rant, hence the name. So, have you made your point, sir?
I think I did. I don't really know if there was a point to that story. It was just a realization of how my life really is. Revenge of the Nerds.
Okay. I actually would add to that, saying that those of us that grew up like that, the cliche is somewhat true, that the jocks rule in high school and maybe even college, because they get away with shit because they're on the college teams. But when it comes to actually making a living, the nerds tend to outclass them. It was back in the 80s, the moneymakers were the assholes, the jocks, the people who went to Wall Street, the yuppies. They were the ones who made the money. In our generation, it's the mathematicians, it's the accountants that make the money, because Wall Street's kind of become, it's still there, but it's not like it was. I mean, we just recently watched Wolf of Wall Street, and like, holy shit, have you seen that movie?
No, I have not.
Oh my God, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but where he gets cocaine from, where he snorts cocaine from, right at the beginning of the movie, you're like, is this what this movie's going to be like? And yep, that's what it's going to be like. That movie is worth it for the Lamborghini scene alone, and I'll leave it at that.
Right.
Or Lotus is Lamborghini, I forget.
I don't know. I just know that I watched the movie Blow, and I never wanted to be a drug dealer so bad in my life when they just had that closet full of cash.
Oh yeah.
I just want.
That's what they mean by it's raining. Making it rain.
Yeah.
Closet full of cash.
Literally, it was a closet.
The only other thing that makes cash like that is porn, but it's just not that attractive.
Speak for yourself. I do go to the gym quite frequently.
Yes, you do. I run, but I don't go to the gym as much as I should. And I kind of slacked off. We took a trip to Disneyland, and I got pretty in shape for that. And then I kind of laid around for a month or two, and now we got to get back into it. All right. Well, you've said your piece there. Now you had mentioned a couple of options in terms of what to talk about.
Ooh, we got to save that for the next show, man. I can only come up with so many ideas.
Well, these are ideas you already had. These are ideas that we already came up with. I just wanted to point out, you had mentioned a curiosity about luck dragons. Now, what exactly was your curiosity about this?
Luck dragons.
Luck dragons. You brought it up.
This is something I vaguely remember. This. I know it had to do with a Facebook post with your wife.
Okay. Probably because she referred to our dog as a luck dragon.
No, it was something else. Like she was having a good day. I don't really remember what luck dragons really had to do with anything. We really need like notepads to carry around. That would be awesome.
Well, you're right.
Spiral notebook. I can do that.
Well, that's a military habit.
It's not a military habit.
Really? Because that's where we learned it.
All right, fine. I'll give it to you, but it's not a military habit.
And I'm going to try to sneak information in here. We met about almost 20 years ago in the service.
To me, that's more of I was a student for 14 years and always needed something to write on and keep my schedule.
Yeah, most people go for 14 years. They have something after their name called PhD.
All right. You've been watching, whatever that
That's
movie
okay.
is.
I'm just as bad as you. We didn't even start college till we were in our 30s, and we graduated about the same time.
Yeah, whatever. You still graduated less than 14 years than I did.
Well, true.
I started when I was 19.
Yeah, but I was going full time. For anybody who doesn't understand what we're talking about, we both started college mostly in our 30s, but I was doing it full time after I got out of the service in 2005, and you were doing it part time while still in the service.
Yes, and the most interesting part about that is you all are lucky with this whole internet thing, because my first college, I was living in Alaska at the time, and I had to do it through the mail. So I would get my books in the mail.
That's a true correspondence course.
Yeah,
right there.
it was a true correspondence course. You'd write your papers, you put it in the mail, and you wouldn't know what your grade was for like the next 6-7 weeks. Who knows?
I have often said that I'm actually much happier with my college experience in my 30s as opposed to trying to do it in my late teens. First off, if anybody had the money to send me, I'd have blown it. I'd have partied, and it'd have been the end of it. I never would have really learned anything. And plus, you actually had to use the library. I managed to get a bachelor's degree without setting foot in the library once.
Really?
Not once did I set foot, except when it was part of the class. Like they took us there as part of the class. But if you're not an idiot and you actually look up your resources, you can find credible resources online.
Right.
You never have to find hard copy in this day and age. Most of my bachelor's, about half my bachelor's was online.
Yeah, I can't do it online. I'm told I have to go to class. I'm a brick and mortar kind of guy the whole way through.
Nice word use. It's good.
Yes.
But yeah, no. I'm fine with being online for getting my degrees because I'm a hermit anyway.
I don't have the discipline. There's video games to be played at my house. There's naps to be taken. There's
naps to be taken. All right. Another thing about this person, this gentleman just retired from the military.
Yes.
So now he's in literally like last week, and now he's in limbo, which is why he's agreed to do this in the first place.
Yes, I'm unemployed. So this is.
But we won't be discussing our day jobs.
No.
I especially cannot.
Obviously, I won't. Again,
yes.
Unemployed.
Well, yes, but even when you get one, we won't be talking about this. Is just gonna be goofy shit.
Yes.
And by the way, while we were sitting there, I looked up Luck Dragon. So what about Luck Dragon? Is there anything you'd like to know?
I know a Luck Dragon came from the movie The Last. No. Never Ending Story.
Okay, thank you. You were about to have hand in your geek.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank God, because I barely even have it. Never Ending Story.
Never Ending Story being one of my absolute favorite films, kind of in the vein of Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and whatnot. The Luck Dragon being, kids would watch it now and look at it and go, that's the dumbest puppet I've ever seen. But at the time, this was like, what, 82? I'll have to look it up.
Was it a puppet or a Muppet?
It was not a Muppet.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, it was not done by the Creature Shop. It was its own thing, and that was the other interesting thing about it. Although I could be wrong about that. The Luck Dragon was a long, white, kind of shiny scaled dog, basically.
Yes.
That flew. That's why I thought maybe my wife was talking about our dogs. We have 2 Boston Terriers, and they are the dominance of our life. And she often refers to the older one as a Luck Dragon, Bella. She's about 8 or 9 years old. And she's kind of got that sweet disposition, that constant smile. So that's where I thought maybe you'd come up with it.
No, this was, I don't.
He's getting out his phone, ladies and gentlemen. He's looking up. You know what? You're as bad as any teenage girl I've ever seen.
Really?
Oh my God! Every teenage girl I've ever seen is constantly on their phone. Every time I turn and look at you, you're on your damn phone.
Well, I get bored, so I really need to play my games. But look, people, don't expect me. I don't like other people. So I'm gonna tell you right now, Clash of Clans is not it. I play solitaire, and
let's put it this way: we're both kind of waiting for the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah,
we're just kind of like, we'll be fine.
I play solitaire on my phone, because I don't have a deck of cards on me. Which is
in the service we always had a deck of cards on us.
Exactly. So, but this is a little bit easier than a deck of cards.
Deck of cards and a cribbage board, and dominoes. Always somebody had dominoes in their gear.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me, remember Chris, Sergeant Vending Machine?
Yes. I saw him the other day.
Really?
Yes, I did.
We serve this little guy's name, Chris, and he works for a major corporation here in the PDX area, which we also don't want to mention because they're not paying us.
I'll mention them if they start paying me.
Oh, if I'd mention them like crazy. In fact, by the way, our name is Rum Rants. Any of you rums out there, please. And in fact, I'd be fine if you just sent us bottles. That would be totally fine. Well, full bottles, of course. But anyway, I digress. Chris, he was a little short, but very wiry. He used to be in the Army. We were the Air Force. Out in the field, he wouldn't pack his gear with armament or weapons. He'd pack his gear with candy bars and granola bars and snacks and trail mix and freaking box. He had juice boxes, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So we started calling him Sergeant Vending Machine. That stuck for quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the other thing then, while we're killing time, I've got a story here to read that I came across about a naked man destroying a car.
Ooh.
Yeah, something along those lines.
What kind of car?
I don't know yet. I'm
Really?
going to try to find that out. I'm cruising through my Facebook page.
You know what's really disappointing is that we didn't think this through enough.
Yeah.
We should keep the rum on the table because anytime we need to fill up, one of us is going to have to leave to go get
Well, my rum's right there.
Our inspiration.
I don't know how far you're going. And by the way, this thing has a pause button on it.
No.
So we can pause anytime we want. These first ones are going to be rough. I listen to several different folks who do podcasts, famous and otherwise, and their first few are always really rough. Of course, I catch them when they're 2 or 3 years in, so they get a lot better at it. Right now, I'm in the process. I told you about the G.I. Joes I got, right?
No.
That I acquired.
No.
From my buddy Kelly, who you've met at some of the Halloween parties here at the house. He came kind of like you did with your box of Transformers.
Yeah.
He came across a box of G.I. Joes, although not quite as extensive as the one you had, and asked me, because he's moving to, I don't know, Midwest or some shit, and asked me to come over and take a look at him. And he had, now, I priced him out, and I because he didn't know how much they were worth, and I totally, researched it, and I gave him an appropriate price for it. But after a little bit of work, it's going to be really cool, because he had a whale in there. Remember that? The hovercraft? The full-on, like, this big G.I. Joe hovercraft?
Yeah.
And a couple other things in there, which are really cool. Plus, he had, like, a second-run Snake Eyes. The visored Snake Eyes, like the second gen in the original series, which were 2 big items, but, of course, they're missing parts and whatnot, so, that's how we had to price them. I'm in the process of restoring that. Now, the weird thing is, though, that the worst one was Snow Job. Remember Snow Job?
Yes.
And what was Snow Job prone to if you left him out in the sun?
Sunburn? Like, I don't know.
Well, he would turn yellow. Piss yellow.
Oh, you mean the toy?
The toy.
Yeah, I never had the toy.
Yeah, he would
I didn't do G.I. Joes.
Really?
I was Transformers.
I was
for
too.
me, it was one or the other, and I had to go Transformers.
G.I. Joes was the year earlier, so a lot of my friends had G.I. Joes.
Yeah.
I didn't have very many, but a lot of my friends did. And I was more into Star Wars.
Yeah.
In terms of the 3/4-inch action figures, but Snow Job turns yellow, very yellow, and I posted what he looks like. I'm in the process of restoring him. Plus, he had the snowmobile, which was all beat to hell, so I'm in the process of doing that. But anyway, I came across this story. This is a different issue. Naked man damaged cars, kicked officer at hemp festival. And this was reported by KPTV.com, so this is a local PDX story.
Naked man.
You should see this dude. Obviously, the link's on our page. Frankly, it looks more like Jesus Christ. With some freighter.
Jesus Christ pose. Just quoting Soundgarden right there.
Soundgarden. See, now, again, okay, and this is another difference between you and I. I hate 90s music. I fucking hate it. And you like that moody shit.
I do.
And I admit to listening to it at the time. Nirvana, awesome.
Here's the problem that I have with Portland.
Okay.
All right. And when we first did this, and think that I want a true rock station in Portland, Oregon.
Right, because Jay had one
really
actual broadcasting, and I was like, no.
Right. 94.7, it's totally fine by me. I like the alternative, but we need something that will play Linkin Park, Shinedown, bands like that. Just
angry bands.
They're not angry bands.
They are.
To you, they're angry. To me, they're peaceful, calming, and perfect to head into work to because I want to feel that way.
See, now I'll admit at the time I was into those. About the time my daughter was born, and shortly a few years before that, I was in Linkin Park, System of the Down, Drowning Pool. I got to see Drowning Pool live before he passed away. Awesome stuff, but it got so angry. About the time you exposed me to Tool, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. This stuff is making me way too angry because I was going through a divorce. So it was like, I'm switching to country. Because at that point, country had switched to this kind of 80s rock kind of style.
Right.
And all the guys who were 80s butt rock, hair and butt rockers became country listeners. Early days of Blake Shelton. And
Def Leppard had a video on CMT that was very disturbing.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, very. Oh my God.
I love that show.
No, her rendition of whatever song they sang. Oh my God, it was just horrible.
Oh, I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I'm sure you did.
And I got yelled at when I played it at a party a while back. Your wife came up and yelled at me.
My wife, ladies and gentlemen, yelled at him.
Well, stop.
Just remember that.
Okay, I'll start telling stories about times your wife has yelled at me, and it hasn't always been my fault.
That's true. He does.
Yeah, okay, so you might want to shut your fucking mouth.
He does take it for me a lot.
Yeah, I did anyway.
Yeah.
And then it all became my fault later on. But anyway, so I finally came across this article. It's in Grants Pass, go figure, Grants Pass, Oregon. Naked man had to be sedated at a hemp festival in southern Oregon after police said he damaged cars, started fights, and kicked an officer. Now,
how do you sedate a high dude?
First off, high is not the appropriate. Hemp festival.
Right.
He had to have been on something other than weed. I've known a lot of potheads.
Right.
And
that's what I'm asking.
Don't kick police officers.
No.
They just don't do it. Oregon State Police troopers responded to the Jefferson State Hemp Expo in Grants Pass. Wow, they have that in Grants Pass. They're kind of red state there. At 12:30 a.m. Sunday. This is a few weeks ago. The first troopers at the scene were led to a grass field, that's funny, where 4 men were restraining the suspect. He was described as naked, combative, and agitated. That pretty much describes my second marriage.
Nice. I'm just thinking of that old Bill Hicks joke. 2 guys trying to get in a fight. Who's stoned? Hey, buddy. Hey, what?
Fuck you.
And that's it. End of argument. End of argument. Like, again, Bill Hicks joke, not mine. I'm like, so how do you
got a point.
How do you get? Like
that's you put Bill Hicks and unfortunately both of them passed away. Bill Hicks and Mitch Hedberg in a room and shake them up. All they do is sit there and talk to each other. Bill's bashing the government and Mitch is like, what?
One's on acid, one's on weed.
Well, Bill was more of a drinker.
But you like the shrooms himself.
Yes, he did.
The whole third eye thing.
That's the unfortunate thing with the passing now of recently Robin Williams and now Joan Rivers. Pretty much the only thing left of my childhood in terms of from basically the 70s through the 90s in terms of stand-up comedy is Bill Cosby's still alive. That's pretty much just for himself. Bill Cosby himself, that wonderful show, which I had one of the most inspiring and uplifting moments of my life recently with when my daughter was here. She's 11. She visits in the summer. She lives in Texas most of the time, which I'm always trying to deprogram while she's here. I pulled up on YouTube Bill Cosby himself, thinking, because it was right after Robin Williams died, and we started watching Robin Williams on Broadway, but that's not really appropriate for a child.
No.
So I turned it off and I turned on Bill himself. And my daughter was cackling like a freak at everything I was laughing at. And I remember that was the first stand-up comedy album I had as a child, about her age. Yeah. And I was so proud of her that she understood the jokes and laughed. It's not like his stuff is it is intellectual. It's not kid humor at all. It's not gross. It wasn't Eddie Murphy Raw, which is the other one I had as a child. It is a little highbrow, but she still understood it, and I was very proud of her for that. And Amber, my wife, had to leave the room. She was getting annoyed with us laughing so much.
Well, and here's the thing. Okay, and I didn't know we were going to go into this whole Robin Williams thing, but so I was up in Seattle. I was living up in Seattle, but my wife was down here.
I think I remember that.
I got tickets to Robin Williams' show, and I got them for her, me, and she asked.
Was this the Firebird era?
Yes, the Firebird era. Yes, I owned a Firebird.
Yes, you did. But I'll tell the rest. I'll tell another. Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
go on.
So we get the opportunity to go see Robin Williams, and what really impressed me about Robin Williams, and it was the same show that you were talking about, Broadway. It was like 2000. Yeah.
It was that tour,
2003,
and I was in Idaho.
Yeah.
So I caught the HBO.
Yeah.
And you caught him earlier.
Yeah. Well, it was the same tour.
Yeah.
It was before he went to New York, but it was, he was just starting his tour. New York was the end of the tour. Yeah. What really impressed me about him is that he must only have like a day to learn a lot about Portland and Portland politics, not just mayors.
Current Portland politics.
Yeah, current names of mayors, what was going on in the city, the random stuff that most people that live here don't even know.
I'm sure he had a little bit of a crew of writers, but I'm sure he did a lot of work on it.
Yeah, and granted, you just had to pick up a newspaper, from the last 3-4 days, but just the ability to do that and write such great jokes. But here's the best part is I'm sitting there and it's my wife and it's me and then it's her dad and then it's her mom in that order, and he is sitting there with his arm simulating performing oral sex and I can't stop laughing. And I'm looking at my wife's dad, who is, he's from a small town, conservative, wears cowboy shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
And like could shoot me with a shotgun.
He's one of those handy kind of guys.
Yeah, he's a handy kind of guy. He's a farm kind of guy.
Which I think the last time I saw him, other than your retirement party, was him up on your roof cleaning your gutters because you couldn't get up there. Yeah. But anyway.
And I'm just sitting there and I'm laughing my ass off, and I'm looking right at my father-in-law that I just married his daughter a year before this, and I can't stop laughing. And he is smiling, and I'm like, this is like the first connection we've ever had in our entire lives.
The man has a sense of humor. I've seen.
Yeah, and I was like, this is just awesome. But I mean, just Robin Williams, I've been to a lot of comedy shows, and that was the greatest one I've ever been to.
Sadly, I think the worst one, or at least the most disappointing one you'd ever been to, I was actually there with you.
Yes, Norm Macdonald.
No, there was one that was worse. And it's sad to say because he's one of my absolute favorites.
Oh, the other one was George Carlin.
George Carlin.
Yes.
Yeah. He peaked in the 90s with the college tours in terms of us. I mean, he's been going on since the 50s. But I remember growing up here in Hippy Dippy Weatherman and a few others. I was like, I didn't care. It wasn't until basically Bill and Ted came out that I was like, who's this guy? Because everyone's going on about George Carlin. They had the George Carlin show while we were in Police Academy.
Right.
You were at your first station and I was at Police Academy in San Antonio. I was like, okay, who is this guy? And I started listening to him while I was stationed in Montana. The You're All Diseased and all that stuff, and his brain droppings and all that stuff. But we went to see him in about 2003 in Portland, and he was working. Now he even said at the beginning of the show, "I'm working on it. This is the show for HBO. I'll end at just like Robin did a couple of years later." He was reading off a notebook, and it just didn't fly. Now Norm was funny, but people kept fucking with him.
Yeah.
Well, do Burt Reynolds.
Go back to George Carlin. I saw him with my brother. I think it was after this.
Okay.
And we saw him at like one of the little casinos, and he was just so angry. And I know George Carlin has always been angry, but it was so angry that it was
got worse and worse.
Unintelligible.
Yeah.
And I know like probably throughout the tour he got better, same thing, but it just wasn't. It was like your angry old grandpa, and I was like,
at some point,
and this was about a year and a half before he actually died.
Oh yeah.
So
he was sick already then.
Yeah, he was already sick. He was already in that, and it was sad to see. But I mean, you still got guys out there, Okay, Norm Macdonald did suck. We'll get back to that because people
I still don't think that was his fault though. But
people kept yelling out his jokes and saying, "Do Burt Reynolds." And I remember watching Norm Macdonald on the original Comedy Central show. There was like a comedy channel where they just did like stand up, and I always look forward to him.
Well, that was still Comedy Central Presents, wasn't it? Or
it was like before that,
like Pulp Comics or something.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was back when Jon Stewart was like 20.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was like one of the hosts, like the DJ host of what
Stewart was.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was funny. But you do have a story that you should probably tell of David Spade.
I really don't remember that much about David Spade, except that we went down to Eugene to see him.
Right.
And he was at not Autzen, but he was at the campus auditorium was.
University of Oregon.
Right.
Completely liberal.
Yes.
Yes. See, this is the funny part of it.
I was still in the military, and you were too.
Yes.
I don't remember what story you're referring to.
Just seeing him and how he reacted and pissed off the crowd.
Oh, that's right. He got them booing, didn't he?
I don't know. I wasn't there. You were.
Where was I? Why was I there and you weren't?
Because you've said this story so many times about how you love David Spade because he just
15,
pissed
20
off.
years ago I said this.
Yeah, but he pissed off the entire crowd.
He did.
Because you have all these liberal hippies, and here he is just insulting women.
He was actually picking people out directly. I remember that now. Yeah. I was there with a girl I was dating. That's right. When I was living in Eugene, I was a guardsman. That's why I was living in Eugene. Yeah. That's why you weren't there. And I went to see him there, and I had my exposure to David Spade at that point had been Saturday Night Live and the Tommy Boy and the movies like that, and some of the PCU and whatnot. I hadn't seen the Just Shoot Me David Spade.
Right.
The what's that show they were just on with Patrick Warburton.
Right.
I didn't know that David Spade at all, and that's who showed up at this show, and he was a fucking dick. And I loved it. You're right. Now I do remember. I loved it. I thought he was funny as shit. And while I'm more liberal, our buddy Mick says this too. Right. I'm liberal for a a military person or a vet. I'm very liberal, even now more so as I'm out. So I got it. But all those guys down there, holy crap. That whole stadium turned against him. They were booing him. He was basically, fuck you. I just thought that was funnier than shit. And the girl I was dating was dumber than a fucking box of rocks. She didn't get it at all. You remember her, Kara?
Yes.
She was hot, but she was dumber than a post. She's like, why are you laughing at this? This isn't funny. I'm like, do you even understand why people are pissed off? I mean, if you understood why people are pissed and you were pissed, I'd give you credit. But no, you don't even understand. That's why I think it's funny. I do remember that.
I'm glad I can relapse your memory.
Thank you. That's why you're here. I can't do this by myself.
Right, of course.
No one. I'm not funny alone.
No.
I think I'm funny, but nobody else does. You have to listen to the episode I recorded by myself just for practice.
Nice.
I was sitting here just drinking by myself and ranting. But anyway, so we've talked about stand-up comics. Now, I do want to bring up one thing because part of my impetus behind doing this was because you came to me probably 6-7 months ago. You were concerned about your retirement and wondering what you wanted to do. And I had you over one night, and we sat there and watched a bunch of superhero cartoons.
Right.
And then I sent you home with comic books.
Yes.
And for you nerds out there, you'll understand what I'm saying. I sent him home with Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns in year one. I sent him home with The Killing Joke, Death in the Family. These are all DC Batman stuff, and that's what I'm really into. You, of course, didn't really take to them very much.
Now, see, to be totally fair,
Okay.
I am not a nerd.
No, you're not. That's why you're here.
I didn't grow up, reading comic books and all this stuff. I mean, granted that I had Transformers, but I mean, I grew out of them like any other normal kid
Which
would.
I never did.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm the nerd in this situation. I get that.
So I tend to learn a lot of nerdisms because I'm in the Air Force. Let me tell you, the Air Force is a bunch of nerds.
The Air Force does attract more sci-fi geeks than most other services. That's true.
So there's a word that starts with an I. That I learned all of this stuff by being, what's the word? I really wanted to use this word today.
Describe.
It's a word meaning that you just learn things from other people.
Osmosis.
No, it starts with an I. I really wanted to use this word, but see, I've been drinking. I'm already because I wanted to say that like I learned this word today because I watched Jim Parsons, and this is how he learns.
By drinking?
Yeah, not by drinking.
That's how I learn.
But that's another thing about Jim Parsons is he plays fantasy football. He hangs out, or he does. He goes on the Dan Patrick Show, and he learns about sports that way. So he used that word on the Dan Patrick Show yesterday. And that's how I learn about all
integration.
No,
I'm not sure what you're getting at. He's on his phone again, ladies and gentlemen. He's looking up the word. It's the vocabulary. We're about to speak fluent drunkenese here in a few moments. And I will edit a lot of this. That's fine. You're trying to be classy and shit. You're trying to be all smart.
I was. I really was.
Well, then I'll continue with what I was saying.
Thanks. Go ahead.
So he came to me and said, I really wanted hobbies. What do you do? You're into all this nerd shit, basically, is what you said. And I said, watch it. And you just laughed like, what? So I said, okay, well, here's some things we can do. And I remember I looked it up, and WizardCon was coming to Portland. And that was something that I was like, okay, let's go see that. I've never had a chance to actually go to a real con. I'd wanted to go to San Diego forever, and I'm hoping next year you and I will both be able to do that. But we went to Wizard after I'd given you all these things. And the other night, which was recent to that, I don't remember if it was before or after, you stayed over and watched Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yes.
And we stayed up all night with toy phasers in our hands, shooting the screen and laughing at how stupid that fucking movie is, and it's horrible. God bless him for trying.
Hang on. I shot at the screen.
Yes,
that is true, because I thought it was stupid and horrible, but I also shot because I had questions.
Yes, you would stop
During a lot of these movies and stuff, I have questions.
And that's also part of where this started from. Jay and I would watch similar movies in terms of we'd watch some of the Bruce Willis stuff, Die Hards and Hudson Hawk and whatnot. Or we'd watch some of the classic 80s stuff where we'd laugh. But when it came to the nerd stuff, when it came to the Neverending Story, or when it came to Star Trek, or when it came to all these other things, Jay would come to me as the subject matter expert, because that's what I am in this situation. He wanted to know why Into Darkness sucked, and we watched it together, and I explained why it sucked. And he wanted to know why I was into Batman and why I was into comic books and science fiction. So that's when I took him to the WizardCon. Now, I'd been germing this idea in my head for a while, and both of us have actually wanted to do radio for a long time. But neither of us had degrees in broadcasting. We had no experience with it. Plus, the regulations involved is just ridiculous. So I took him there, and I remember in the morning we went to the diner because I'm like, dude, we need to protein up. I'm telling you, it's going to be a marathon. It's not going to be a sprint. It's going to be a marathon. It's going to be big, and we're going to have to walk around. So we went to what diner did we go to? I don't even remember. The one over in Gresham.
Right, that one.
Yeah, that one. We won't say the name. But it's one of those ones that's really packed. Like, you don't sit there alone. You're like, you got people 2 feet from you.
Okay, yeah, I know.
And there's no booths. Well, there are booths, but where we were sitting was just a table. So we're sitting there eating, and he brings up in front of everybody. He's like, okay, there's something I want to know before we go to this WizardCon. I said, what? He's like, why the fuck does Batman get electrocuted in every goddamn comic book I ever read? And I'm like, well, he doesn't, first off. Like, yes, he does. Like, okay, fine. And I, like an idiot, not having, even at that point, having known you for several years, because this was only a little while ago, I fell for your trap, you asshole. And I answered literally, it's a literary device, you dumbass. It's to create drama. They've been doing it since the Greek tragedies. I'm taking it literally like a dumbass, and you're just sitting there giggling at me because I sound like an idiot. Meanwhile, the entire diner is
By the way, that's still me giggling at him.
Exactly, because I'm an idiot. And the entire diner is stopping, and I remember that this happens to us all the time.
Yeah.
Comedy Club, we were got there early, and we were at the door, and we were doing card tricks. We were like coin tricks and
we were doing
all kinds of weird shit. And then when the doors opened, they were like, "Aren't you going on stage?" Like, no, we just came to see the show. But anyway, he kind of did it to me again. He set me up. He got me going. And I said, okay, fine, you fucker. When we go to the WizardCon, there's going to be guys there that make the suits, the full-on armored Christopher Nolan, straight up, even the Tim Burton suits for Batman. Ask them. And then I forgot about it because he laughed just like that. And I forgot about it. And we get there, and of course I'm just in fucking heaven. You know, a comic book this and superhero that and cosplay over here. And I got to sit in the fucking DeLorean, for God's sakes. That's one of my favorite pictures ever. We go through most because the Batman guys are like toward the end of the run. And we get all the way over there. And sure enough, Jay finds him first. And I see him sitting there talking to the guys. And I walk up. And you're doing what you always fucking do. I just saw you do it the other night. You start a fight. You start an argument. And you said the same thing to them that you said to me. Why the fuck does Batman get electrocuted every fucking thing I read? What the hell? And sure enough...
It wasn't just Batman, though. Because it wasn't just Batman. It's like, hey, if Batman's suit is made of rubber, why does he get electrocuted all the time? And then they had to go into detail why Batman's suit is
these guys answered.
Now, the other part was... Hey, I see Wonder Woman have her little lasso rope thing, and she gets electrocuted all the time. Why doesn't she just put the handle as rubber? Wouldn't that be an insulation? She wouldn't get shocked all the time? I went in through different characters.
Right, but it got them going just like it got me going.
Oh,
and
it got them going bad.
Real bad. As a reflex, I started to defend their position as well. And then, of course, I was like, oh, shit, he's doing it again.
And by this time, I had already started leaving the area.
Yes, you had backed up already. and I saw you out of the corner of my eye start to back up, and I'm like, okay. So I started to back up, too. And sure enough, there was a dozen people standing there bitching back and forth about, why is that? Fucking and I'm like, and you're just sitting there laughing just like this. I saw you do it the other night at your retirement party. A couple of the guys who worked for you, you said, you basically poked this guy, poked that guy, and said, go. And I came out there, and you're sitting in that park bench smoking a cigarette, just grinning like crazy, and these two idiots are arguing with each other. And I sit next to him like, you're doing it again. You're doing it again. So that's what, and I remember saying to you at WizardCon, back to the WizardCon. I walked up and I said, Jason, we need to start recording this. And you turned to me and said, what? And then for a couple weeks, I hounded you about it. I kept saying, we need to start recording this. We need to start recording this. And you're like, what are you talking about? I was like, it's a radio show, but it's not. It's just you and I sitting there. Like, ah. And then I said, you can drink while you're doing it. You said, I'm in.
Yeah, I did.
So then a couple weeks later, you're like, I know what we should call it. We should call it Rum Rants. I'm like, okay, good. We're good to go. And that's when it started going from there.
In all honesty, this is your wife's idea because she's the one. You should record yourselves whenever you do or whenever you start drinking. This was kind of your wife's idea.
When did she say that?
Just to record ourselves.
Oh, just have a digital recorder going.
of our conversation.
Well, that was part of it too, yeah.
So.
Absolutely. She's been encouraging the whole thing. I mean, it's something that...
Obviously, she broke her toe because of it.
Well, I know. God damn it.
She spilt blood for this thing. We haven't done that yet.
That's right. You should have seen the looks I got at the ER. Or, yes, Mrs. Grigsby, are you sure it was a table leg? Yes, it was.
That's a little random. I mean, it's not like it was her nose or anything, like the toe. Like
it's there. Well, I work in a service type industry that would have that question.
Right. No, I get it. I mean,
and so I can understand where it was coming from.
But still, it was a toe.
Plus, I was working in the yard. I was covered in sweat, shit, and whatever. And she just got off work, so she's nice. And here I am, redneck, idiot, fat loser, dragging her in.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I swear to God, it was a table, officer. You know. So.
All right. Well, my glass is empty, so we need to pause this.
Okay. All right. We'll pause it right now. Stand by.